Hello, my name is Mordred and I would like to welcome you to episode 2 of my Let's Play Europa Universalis 4. In the previous episode we managed to take some of the lands from Aberdeen up here in Scotland, so they are left with just these two islands, and towards the end of it our arch enemy down here in Northumbia decided to declare war on us. This was very badly timed for us because we had a weakened army, we had less manpower in our manpower pool up here, and most critically, we had lost most of our navy. We're down to just 7 transports and 2 light ships. However, our ally down here in Brittany has joined in this war, and they are currently in the process of loading troops. This means the other thing which I noticed between episodes is I wasn't actually producing any troops in either of these provinces. With all the ships being busy down here, I think I'm pretty safe to move troops back and forth up here in Scotland. Moving them between this area here is more unlikely because they do have a ship just sitting there. He will likely pop out, block this strait and stop any troops moving between them. We also, of course, need to worry about the main Northumbia army here, but we'll just have to see what moves they make, because they're currently trying to take Ayrshire, which is the war goal, so when they get that they'll start getting war score accumulating over time. And there he goes, he's now off into Ulster. We need to start moving our ships because they have indeed decided to set off and try and intercept our ally down here in France. Let's hope we get there on time. So some of our troops are now beginning to assemble. We could take out another loan and start building some more. I think we will do that. We are able to take up to 32 bank loans at a time. Of course, the more loans we take, the more mercenaries we have on the field, the more damage our treasury is taking. But this is just one of the economic sacrifices I think we need to take in order to win this war. We have an alliance offer from Wales. This is a very good thing because it means that there are extra troops on the border over here. And because this is still fairly early on in this war, I think we can call them into the battle. Yes, we can. So Wales are joining this fray and they'll start probing into the west of Northumbria. Okay, so the big fight's taking place down here. Our ships have arrived. Besides who? That's Northumbria, so we need to keep an eye on this morale down here. Now 17,000 assembled. Whoa, we need to get to Ayrshire before they do. I'm not sure we'll make that. Oh, yes, we will. We're there on the 13th. This is good because it means they have to cross the straits. They will take a penalty for crossing that strait. So some of their leaders' insane skill will be countered that way. We need to start getting some more halberd infantry. We don't want to get cavalry because they are stupidly expensive when they're mercenaries. Any cavalry we do build need to be just regular. And the Welsh fleet has also jumped into this struggle, so we will definitely win this fight. This is fantastic because that means they lose naval supremacy, and hopefully it means that we can keep control of the Irish Sea and stop them getting to Ireland. So even if we do lose the war up here in Scotland, we can keep moving troops across. This is really quite strong for us. So the battle here, we are currently winning. We have more morale, very slightly, and basically the numerical supremacy we have is what is winning us this one. So we've won the first round. This is going to cause them to retreat. So we will stay here. We will capture Ayrshire back. And we'll continue moving troops to reinforce. Oh. The odds have narrowed a little. They moved their one ship. They have moved their one ship. So they are definitely worried about losing that fight. But there's not much more we can do to reinforce. Their fleet is down to just the heavies and the transports, while we still have a number of lights. You can see here 6-6 versus 3 and 8. It's still a very even struggle, but we do have the better admiral, and that is critical. Right, so we are getting some more troops here. We can start moving them over. We'll split this army in half. stick them in Lothain. Where's the Northumbia military? Our goal at the moment is to take Lothain. It has a fortress, which means it blocks any movement into Northumbia proper. We need to take Lothain and Cumbria in order to move further south. We lost that fight. We lost our entire navy. They lost a significant chunk of theirs, but they do retain naval supremacy, unfortunately. But so it goes. We can't have everything. So now we're just waiting for the siege here in Lothain to take place. Move into Cumbria. Cumbria is forest, which is going to give us a give us a 1+1 defensive bonus, which is excellent. So if they do decide to try and liberate their capital, which is quite likely, we can just shift our troops into Cumbria and we'll get a bonus. If we lose that, then we can withdraw into Scotland or into Ireland. So they are building more troops, which is a little bit of a cause for concern, so I think we will do the same. We basically have to retain numerical superiority here because they are just so much stronger, and their leader is he's worrying. In fact, I'm very tempted to see if we can recruit a better one of our own. We do still have the free leader slot. In fact, we have 2 of them because of our high power projection over there. We have got some military power. I wouldn't say it's exactly to spare, but we have it, so we can use it. So let's roll the dice. Let's see what we get. Oh, he's even worse. Fantastic. Let's do it again. Yes, he's much better. So he's got 2 fire and 1 shock. This is a lot better. So as soon as this mercenary here in Ayrshire pops, I'll stick the leader in there and I'll move him into Cumbria. Where are you going? You're going into Northumberland. That means you are probably going after Lothain. That's fine. Yes, you are. I am, at this point, going to... When do you arrive? 7th of December. If I moved away, I get away the 10th, the 9th, or the 6th. So I could actually withdraw into Fife. I am going to do that. I want to keep the enemy attacking me in as beneficial locations as possible for my own army. So you are again moving into Fife. Fife is just grassland. See, we want to get to the Highlands. The Highlands is definitely the best location to fight in. 18th, 12th, you beat us. That is a manoeuvre. Right, we want the better general. We'll get rid of the terrible one because, yeah, he's awful. I'm wondering if I should just move my entire army into Fife. That wouldn't really be in our favour. Trying into Aberdeen. How does that take? 16th, 12th. No, we're stuck there. So we're going to have to go into Fife and reinforce that. We do have a number of mercenaries on the way, so we can keep on pumping troops into this fight. And there we go, our reinforcements have arrived. They are very low on morale. We will win this round again. And there we go. So another 6 war score in our favour. Let's move back into Lothain. And they've just moved 2,000 men into Lothain. Those guys are as good as dead. Be a full stack wipe. There we go. Oh, they lost 2,000 cavalry. That's fantastic. Cavalry are expensive. Wales has lost Gwynedd to Northumbria, but because we are keeping their main army busy, the Welsh army is able to go on their own offensive. Right, in event. Clergy loses 5 loyalty, gains 5 loyalty. I don't really care about the clergy at this point. I would quite like the prestige, because prestige gives you morale. And morale is basically all that's keeping us alive right now. So I might withdraw some troops to Fife. The reason for that is because we are doing a siege. We don't really need an overkill of troops here. We take attrition over time, so by having the men here in Fife we can quickly go and reinforce Lothain if we need to. How's Brittany doing? We do have some ships. Where's the Northumbrian fleet? Not actually sure. Probably here in the channel somewhere. Okay, so we finished our boosting relations with Sweden. This is excellent because it means there's a fairly high chance that when we finish this war we'll be able to get an alliance with Sweden. So I'm actually going to maintain my diplomat there just for us. No, I'll withdraw him. Then we can start working on relations with Kola over here and still have a diplomat in reserve for making a peace deal if we need to. I'm going to split off one man because there is currently no general there. We know that our royal leader has 1 pip in siege, so he will actually make that siege go slightly quicker. So it's quite a good idea to move him down there. We do have a massive numerical superiority over Northumbria at this point, but this is costing us a small fortune to maintain. So in order to manage those costs, I'm going to split off the mercenaries and then merge them. Having less regiments means that you're paying less. You basically pay for every regiment, not for every man, I believe. I think that's how it works. Okay, so they're moving 4,000 men to attack Ayrshire. That is a really stupid idea. They're basically splitting their army and I'm just cutting off little pieces at a time. Massive numerical superiority means that I'm just annihilating them. There we go, it's another 4,000 men dead. They are down to just 13,000 versus our 31,000. Though of course Brittany can't get there, so we are 6,000 men down. Oh, there's their navy. Going for Munster again. Okay, so they are going after Lothian again. I am just going to jump in and see if I can hold this place. We do have numerical superiority once again. We're having a peace offer from Northumbria. This is excellent. They want to give up some of their money and war reparations because they are losing this fight. We do have 53% war score against them. The reason for that is the number of battles that we've won against them, plus the fact we hold Ayrshire, and that's only going to get better and stronger in our favour. So we're going to keep this war going. We want to take this province of Northumberland. You can see it's extremely valuable, with 31 development there, which is almost as high as our capital. So another battle in our favour. Merge them again, and then split off siege, move you to Ayrshire. And then I'll... oh no, the wrong army moving. Oh well. I really need to take Lothian. Cumbria will be is a smaller fort, so it will be much easier to take. And you can see down here, who's this? Ah, because this is land that Wales doesn't actually want, it goes to us, so we have occupation of this land. Wales clearly wants the marches, and I'm quite inclined to give it to them when we make peace. Any land that Northumbria loses and our allies gain is a good thing, and really it's in our favour to have England split up as much as possible while we consolidate our own holdings up here in the north. Wales has just won a fight against them. How many loans can I still have? I can have another 30, no, I can have 32. I currently have 11. It's going to take a long time to pay back, but we're going to be in a pretty bad situation economically and diplomatically. We need to consolidate our holdings. That takes time. And I should also declare my intention. Let's see, one of the changes in diplomacy. Here we are. Diplomatic feedback. I can declare my interest in certain provinces. Or can I not do this while I'm at war? Well, I'm certainly... hang on. Northumbria. I want... I can't say what I want. This is something I will need to do outside of a battle, I guess. One of the things you can do is basically say, I have an interest in these provinces, and then your allies will not try and take them themselves. Oh, we still have a mission. Mission could be to create a fleet, but we have no ships left. At this point, light ships aren't really worth their money. Transports I'm unlikely to try and intercede down in any other wars here. Although, again, another change in Cossacks is to make diplomatic actions more important. So Brittany's attempt to try and help me in the battle here in England would earn trust or favour with other countries. So you can basically say, I'm a very small country, but I really want this alliance with this bigger country, so I'm going to send as much assistance as I can to try and keep that alliance alive. And basically the more that you contribute to wars, the more your allies will like you. Okay, we have another peace offer. I'm going to decline that one again. I can say, okay, what do I want? I want those two provinces for sure. It's going to give me 18 aggressive expansion. Now, down there in the bottom you can see Northumbia minus 35, bracket minus 57. The 35 is how much aggressive expansion they take from this peace deal, and the 57 is the total. Any country with more than, I think it's 40, might be 35, aggressive expansion will possibly join a coalition. So now you can see I want Yorkshire in this one. So Kent, Aberdeenshire and Northumbria all would join an alliance, or basically a coalition, to stop your growth. And that can get very bad very quickly. Because I've already taken some land from Aberdeenshire, I have some aggressive expansion still outstanding, which is why you have the bracket. And one very easy way to check that is to go here in the coalition map mode. Then you can hover over these countries and you can see there in the tooltip, Picard opinion about Stormwind or aggressive expansion -7, so they currently dislike me basically 7 points. Northumbria, being closer, would dislike me even more. They're basically very worried about my aggressive tendencies. I'd say they should be. I am fairly aggressive, although not as aggressive as some other players I've seen. I tend to be fairly aggressive, then try and consolidate my holdings. I'll play more of the diplomatic game, I'll try and bring in allies, and basically I'll just do a bit of wheeling and dealing. Okay, excellent. Our very first election. We've been playing this game now for 4 years. We can keep Mordred the utterly useless with his 101, or we can bring in another candidate. Each Republican candidate always has a total of 6 monarch points versus our 2 currently. We basically need to decide what technologies we want to improve in. Military is definitely a big one at this point in the game, because this next level is a huge increase to land morale and also military tactics. Military tactics is one of the most important statistics in this game. It basically increases the amount of damage you do and decreases the amount of damage you take. The bigger the difference in tactics between the two armies, basically the bigger the difference in the skill of their armies, and the army with higher military tactics can defeat a vastly superior army fairly easily. So for example, when Europe starts pushing into the Americas or into India, they'll have much smaller armies, but their tactics means that they win those fights. So we're going to take the military candidate. We're replacing good old Mordred. We now have a 114. So if we look over here in the government tab, we can see precisely how many points we are generating every month, and we are now getting 8 military. It is possible to set a national focus and say I want more admin points, for example. That would add 2 points and then subtract 1 from each of the other categories. At this point I don't want to. I do actually want a fairly balanced improvement in all of those. However, when you start taking ideas also cost monarch points, and that's when you'll probably want to start focusing things. So at the moment I'm just waiting for these sieges to end. The reason for that is they cost less war score when you actually occupy the land, which will mean I can demand more things from Northumbria. For example, I'd quite like to humiliate them, if possible, though I kind of doubt that will be possible. It might. I'd like to give some land to Wales, of course. I'd like to take land for myself, and all the other good stuff. And I've just noticed this icon here means the Burkers are unhappy again, because I took a load of Aberdeen land and didn't give them anything. So I need to give them some more trade value. So we look down here, trade value. Anything with a high number there is what we can give them. I'm taking a lot of loans. So here, Aberdeenshire has a high trade value, so I'll probably... Oh, that's a very valuable province. You know what? I am going to give that to the Burkers. And that will keep them quiet for quite a long time, I hope. I believe the way it works is... Oh no, it is always development. I thought that it could be territory for some estates. Maybe that's just a nomadic game. I was watching another YouTuber, Quill18, who's playing a nomadic game at the moment, and their estates only seem to want total percentage of territory, not development. So you could give the nomadic tribespeople lots of very low development provinces, while keeping the very valuable ones to yourself. Okay, so we've gone on. The eldest son of our current Republican leader, the consul, has gone on trial. We can basically get the son acquitted or withdraw from life ourselves, which loses a ton of power, but gains us some Republican tradition. We do currently have 100%, so I'm quite happy to see him acquitted, to be honest, and get ourselves some extra power. It's basically saying we don't care as much about the Republic, we're going to do this, it's in our favour, etc. Okay, so Lothian has fallen, we are now moving into Northumberland to take that. Cumbria has got 7%. Basically this advancing green line here is a siege cycle. Every time that line hits the top, a dice is rolled, and then depending on that you get a percentage chance of winning that siege. Every time it goes past, it adds 1 to the die roll, and then the next round starts. And you can see these die rolls down here. So currently we have -2 because we do not blockade this. This is a port, they can ship in supplies. -1 because there is a level 1 fort here because it's the capital. But we get +10 because 10 siege rounds have gone. So over time it's more and more and more and more likely for that area to fall. And then there are other bonuses which come into play, like diseases and starvation. You can get the garrison quitting, things like that. But now land is dropping fairly quickly, although Northumbia do have an army here again. It's not showing me 0%. Okay, so Cumbria should fall before the marches do, which is good because we want to give the marches to Wales. One very important reason for that is because the Marches has a castle, so if Wales controls this, then they can control access to Wales proper. However, if they don't, then Wales always has to take the Marches first before they can do anything else against Northumbria. So we want Wales to hold that castle, and then that basically opens up everything down here except for London itself, which again has another fort. So 28%. Let's continue moving down. Actually, let's stay a bit closer to home. We are still taking a lot of loans, but we need the manpower right now, just to counter what Northumbria can do. They have just lost that siege, unfortunately. I think I can still give the land to Wales, and I certainly will do so. Let's move back up here. There we go. We have now taken Cumbria, so I'm quite happy to make peace. I want those lands. I want to give oh no, Wales does have to take the marches again. That's unfortunate. I don't think there's any way of doing it myself. No, there isn't. Yeah, we will continue fighting until the marches falls, basically. Their army is in Yorkshire currently. I could attack them with my 13,000 against their 10,000. Hopefully Wales would jump in too. Let's do it. Yeah, Wales is indeed joining us. They've seen what move we are making, and they're moving accordingly. So we have 20,000 against their 7,000. We may actually defeat their entire army here. This was a very good move. Okay, we've done significant damage. Didn't kill their entire army, but that's totally fine by me. And we can just continue our conquest. We do have a very high chance of Aberdeen rebels popping here. Part of the reason for that is we haven't actually cored any of the provinces up here yet, so they don't legally belong to our empire. They are still part of Aberdeen. However, realistically they are ours. There are a couple of things you can do about this. For instance, you can do harsh treatment. This basically reduces the chance of rebels appearing for a short time for 50 military power. I'm at war, I cannot handle the rebels right now, I'm going to do it. It's expensive, but in this case worthwhile. And the way that rebels work is basically there is a chance every... hang on. Pause. Okay, so Northumbria just attacked Wales, or Wales attacked Northumbria, I'm not sure which, and Wales won. They do not now have enough troops to actually take the marches anymore, so I'm going to split off some troops from here and march them south to basically assist my ally in taking that territory. We have the ability to hire a military engineer which exchanges money for military power, or we lose prestige. Money is fairly easy to come by, so I'm happy to do that. It will mean I need to take another loan fairly shortly, which is worrying. We do now have 15 loans. We have a lot of money outstanding. This is bad for two reasons. Firstly, we pay interest every month, so that reduces the amount of money we actually generate ourselves. And it also increases inflation. Now, you will remember that one of the ideas I have taken is to reduce inflation. So usually you would have to take an advisor or take certain ideas which reduce inflation, but we do it automatically. It's one of our national bonuses. like I said, I need money to be cheap. I do generally take a lot of loans. I play a very economic game almost every time. Even if I was playing someone very military like Prussia, I always want a strong economy underpinning everything I'm doing. And now we're doing what's called blanket sieging, basically just sending lots of very small armies to try and take as much land as possible. Wales is being very aggressive and trying to wipe out the entire Northumbrian army, which they have now done. Northumbria now has no military left. So we can be very aggressive and just take as much as we can, and then in the peace deal we can be very unkind to Northumbria and basically curtail their power as much as we possibly can, which is definitely what we want to do. We don't want a strong neighbour. So sieges continue. London needs more men. The way it works also with castles is you only need 1,000 men to take any province without a castle, or without a fort. For every level of forts that you have, you need 3,000 men. So the capital has an automatic level 1 fort, basically, so you need 3,000 men to take Cumbria. And then we'll do the same for taking London. So I need 3,000, you see here the 1,700 I have, not enough. So I have these extra guys coming down to support them. And, oh no, we need 6,000, sorry. The capital is a level 1 fort, which is 3,000 men. A fort that you build is actually a level 2 fort, so you need 6,000, and that's indicated over here. So I don't have anywhere near enough men to take that province right now. But I have some men sitting there, so we'll move them down. That should be enough. It is. We now have 6,400. We are still taking loans. I could at this point get rid of some of my mercenaries. I'll probably do that when the marches have fallen though. I definitely want to take them. So once I've taken the marches, I can then flip the occupancy to Wales and say, this is now for you guys. Then I'll make the peace treaty, give Wales the marches, take some of these lands up here for myself, depending on how much aggressive expansion I take, and then I'll probably demand war reparations, which is a percentage of their monthly income, which will help pay off my loans, and I can take some of their actual treasury too, as basically a tribute. And that'll be very helpful because it will allow me to rebuild some of my ships too. I'm still not entirely sure what I'd build, probably just heavies at this point. Ships play a little differently from land units. Ships you have to pay individually. Every time you want to upgrade them, you have to basically build a new ship, while land units will automatically upgrade as you go through the ages. So that is one thing you need to be aware of if you do play the naval game. It just generally costs more. It also makes you a lot more money though. Having lots of light ships is excellent. You're taking a lot of loans. I don't like this. Come on, 42% chance of taking the marches. Has to fall, come on. There we go, marches is ours. We can now click on it, and there should be a button down here. No, that's the trade, here. We can transfer occupancy to Wales. It now goes white to show that Wales occupies it. I can now speak to Northumbria and say, you have to... Oh, Wales doesn't actually want the marches. Well, that's annoying. I might take Lancashire. Okay, so Northumbria and Kent could enter a coalition against me. While you have a truce with someone, they cannot enter the coalition, so it will just be Kent. But this basically stops me from being aggressive against anyone else, which I'm okay with. I can't believe that Wales doesn't want the marches. They did want it earlier. It's very annoying. Right, we are going to humiliate them. I'm going to take the war reparations. We won't take Lancashire or Yorkshire. Don't we want to do it? We'll take Cumbria instead, so we are going to take their capital away from them. This will generate a fair amount of aggressive expansion, but only enough for Northumbria themselves to join the coalition against me. They clearly have no money in the bank at all. We've got a 100% war deal here, which is the highest you can ever demand. Let's do it. Northumbria loses a big chunk of their power. We've now got 100 war projection. In fact, I think it might actually be higher than 100. It just doesn't display. And we're moving our troops away. We have 100. We have improved relations with Kola as much as possible. We'll recall the diplomat for the moment. As soon as he's home, we can try and make this alliance with Sweden. However, they will not at this point, except we want to specifically say what our relations are, so we want to manually determine what our relations are. We want to be friendly towards Sweden. We want to say, look guys, we like you, we want to do stuff with you. So we're going to make it clear precisely what our stance are towards neutral nations that we want to make friends with. I think we may do the same with Aragon, actually. Aragon's another one that I want to say, I want an alliance with you guys, help! Okay, so our armies are moving north. We're going to split off the mercenaries. We're going to get rid of those mercenaries. Slightly risky. Generally, the more troops you have, the less likely someone is to attack you at any point. Cornwall wants an alliance. I don't want an alliance with you. Sorry, you're too small. Generally, the one province miners I don't really bother with when I'm this big. It's not really worthwhile. Anyway, our armies are moving north. This is more mercenaries. Let's split you off and delete you. This leaves us with 4,500 men in their army. The massive Stormwind army, but yeah, it's okay. The other thing we need to do is, whoa, we have a lot of war exhaustion. We may actually want to reduce this through spending diplomatic power. Well, we're going to be at peace for a long time. The problem with war exhaustion is it increases really quite dramatically unrest. So you can see there at the top, war exhaustion plus 16, so we have an unrest of 27 currently. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to increase autonomy in all of these provinces. That decreases unrest by 10, but it means that those provinces earn you less money in the short term. That's fine. That's totally fine at this point. So all of these, we basically just don't want to deal with a revolt right now. We have no troops. We've just got rid of our mercenaries. We don't want to take more loans out to pay for more mercenaries. We're going to reduce army maintenance, so we're basically trying to put away as much money as possible at this point, so that we can start repaying these massive loans that we have. We are getting almost 1 ducat a month from the various reparations from Aberdeen and from Northumbia. Also, we will be incurring slightly more costs because we are adding more, basically having to pay for reinforcements joining our armies. Although, because our army maintenance is 0, they won't actually be joining, so they'll be going into the manpower pool instead. I think we will have slightly above, there we are. And now, basically any troops that we get will immediately join the army. We need the we need the troops. We have too many rebellions that are possibly going to rear their ugly heads. So the nobility are saying, we want more land, so we'll have to give them some. What gives us lots of manpower. Now these province outputs are reduced by the amount of autonomy we have. So basically we have, let's see, manpower, yeah, we're generating 74% less manpower in these provinces. So we need to take that into account. So we really want to kind of check the base. Base 250, base 250, base 1,700. Don't really want to give the nobility that province though. Is there anywhere more than 250? There's a 500. Aberdeen, but we've already given that to the Burkers. That's fine. 250 was, I think it's purely done by this. 250. 250, okay, I'm going to give them the islands. Nobility, you can have that. Is that enough? Yes, it is. So basically 10% of our total development has to go to the nobility and 20% has to go to the Burkers. So both factions are fairly happy with us. The clergy don't really like us, but they have no power, so I don't really care at this point. Right, I think that is all for the moment. We do have 2 diplomats who are currently not doing anything. I'll send them back over here. No closer to getting an alliance, unfortunately. We'll send a diplomat to Aragon to improve relations with them. Hopefully that will help. Cola, do you want an alliance? You don't. The main reason is because we have no navy and no army, so they are less inclined to ally with a perceptively weak power. As soon as we basically rebuild after these wars, we'll be in a very strong position. We do have a lot of territory now. We have a fair amount of development. We're going to start seeing more money coming in. Our economy will recover as this autonomy goes back down again. That happens over time, depending on your government and your government strength. So we are a republic, so I think it's minus 0.5 a month or something like that. Oh no, 0.1 a month because we're at peace. I'm fairly sure the government had something to do with that too. I might be wrong. Or maybe it's other forms of government would normally display there. Oh well. So, more advanced forms of government decrease autonomy to basically you just want to centralise everything possible because that earns you the most cash and most manpower. And once the war exhaustion has gone down a fair chunk more, preferably down to 0 if possible, we would then start making some of these cores. The reason we're not doing it straight away is because war exhaustion increases the cost of doing so, and like I said before, you kind of want to keep your monarch points, so you don't want to spend more if you don't have to, and these are getting pretty expensive. I should have probably with hindsight done it earlier, but I was worried about losing these territories, so if I had to give them up in the peace I would have lost those monarch points anyway. We'll just need to wait a while. Because we're not trading very much, the overextension doesn't hurt us as much as it could. Having overextension as a trading power is really quite bad. It reduces the amount of trade power abroad you get, as you can see, 65%, and generally just massively reduces the amount of cash you can make out of trade. It also improves national unrest, or sorry, increases unrest, which is also bad, but it's nowhere near as bad as the war exhaustion. We're basically going to have to put down some rebels at some point, but we will deal with that when it happens. I think that's all we have time for the time being, however. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you for the next episode, episode 3. Please do give us a like and subscribe to this channel to help it grow. I will see you then. Signing out, this is Mordred.